honest with you. So,
Okay. No problem.
let me,
Sure.
did you share it with
Yep.
Selena?
Sure. I will do that. Just give me a second.
See if I can look it up. Sorry, there were a lot of emails flying.
No problem. Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I don't see Selena, so I'm gonna forward that to her.
I'm sharing it right now, so she'll have it.
Okay.
Just give me a second. Give me a second, Selena.
Okay.
Okay, just sent that. Okay, but I think rather than go through the guide now, I think it makes more sense to kind of do more of a live training. And afterwards you can review the guide and let me know what your thoughts.
Yeah,
if it works.
I think it's going to
Yeah.
be helpful to circle back
Sure.
and review some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Okay, great. Okay, so the objective today, we're going to cover the 3 payment gateways we have that are coming through for the Shopify orders. We have Amazon Pay, there's the PayPal gateway, and we have the Shopify payment method. So Shopify has their own payment gateway. Okay, so and the way we've set this up in NetSuite is that each of the 3 has a clearing account, and the method that we're going to use is to basically reconcile the clearing account. So we're going to match deposits coming in from customers. We're going to have visibility into what the fees were coming out of those deposits. And we're also going to have visibility on what the transfer amounts are going to the operating account. And then part of the process will be to book those fees and to book those transfers as well. Okay. That's the main, that's the overall goal. Okay, so just before we start, just a note on the Shopify payment method. As I was testing before the call today, it seems like something's changed with the way the files are getting exported. I couldn't determine why they've changed, something with the date format, but the programmer is working to get that straightened out. So what we're going to do for Shopify is I'm going to use samples that I used originally. Okay, so, but I'll show you the process, and I do think it'll be resolved very quickly. I mean, I'll just change the date format.
My only concern there is this something that is going to be always the case, or what's the are Amazon going to be changing it?
Yeah, right, exactly. It is strange. I'm going to try to figure out what happened. I suspect it's on my side rather than on the Shopify side. I suspect it's in how I did make a change in how the default CSV files show up on my computer. So it might be because of that. But I really have to test some more to figure that out. I mean, it does seem unlikely that the gateway would suddenly change how the files are exported, because there's all kinds of integrations that their clients have, and I don't think they would just do that on their own without some sort of notification. So that's what I think happened. But again, I don't know without having verified that. But I'll let you know. Obviously, that's a big concern. You don't want to think if it's going to be changing all the time, then this is not going to work.
Because we don't have this tool that we created. It's going to be tough to change every single time.
Right. Okay. So let's get started. So let's start with the Amazon Pay method. Okay. So what we'll do is I want to show you the full navigation. So I'm going to actually log out and log back in.
Are you sharing the screen with us?
Good point. Sorry about that. Thought I had done that already. Okay, let me know when you can see that.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to sign in. Okay, so when you log in, we're going to go to, just bear with me a second. We're going to go to payments here. and view payment summary. Okay, so I'm clicking on view payment summary. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to export the report, and that will be right there on that tab there. Data range, date range reports. Okay, and you click on generate report, and you can select the date range. Okay, I've recently generated one, so let's. Well, this one goes pretty quickly, so let's say June 1st through, let's say, I don't know, 20th, right? So June 20th. Okay, then we click generate. Okay, in progress, click refresh. Okay, and then we get that download button. So we download the file. It's right there. You can save that somewhere where you want to, if you want to hold on to it. It probably makes sense. I'm going to keep it in my downloads folder. And then you go over to NetSuite, and we're going to go to Transactions, Bank, Payout File Conversion Tool right there. Okay, I'm going to click on that. Okay, and then you can drop files here or click to upload. I'm going to click, pulls up my downloads folder, and I just selected that file that was just downloaded from the website. Okay, and now it's converted. Okay, I'm going to download that file. Okay, and we're going to open that up. Okay, so this is what the converted file looks like. This is the format that NetSuite accepts for the account reconciliation. Okay, the default CSV date might be an issue here. It is on my computer. It depends on your settings. So just to be sure, I'm going to click on that column and go to number formats, custom, changing the date format to month, day, year, like that. And then I'm going to save again. Okay. And now I'm going to go to Transactions Bank, import online banking data. Okay, so now we have our file converted in the way that NetSuite needs it to be, and we're going to actually do the reconciliation now. So we're going to import that data by clicking that button, choose File, and you can see here that when the tool converts it, it just appends that formatted at the end of the file name. Here's the original, and there's the formatted one. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to select the bank account, which is really the clearing account that we're doing now. It's Shopify Amazon. That one down there. Okay. And I'm going to click Submit. Okay, and it says here there's 129 transactions successfully imported. There are 83 matched transactions. That does not sound like a very high amount, but the main reason for that is because all of the fees and the transfers are not matched. So I want to just take a note. So there's 129 transactions altogether. Okay, now we're going to reconcile. I'm going to click OK. Okay, click OK. And the transactions come in. Let's just take a look at how many fees and how many deposits were not matched. Okay, so I'm going to explain the whole navigation of this page, but just right away, I want to just demonstrate how many were matched versus how many weren't. So I'm going to just filter by that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 were not matched out of, what was it, 83, right, altogether. So, you know, we'd obviously like to bring that down. And again, in the phase 2, I always mention this, but when we get to the more API work, hopefully we'll be able to really bring that number down. But it is only 11 out of the 83 that were not matched. Okay, and I'm going to show you how it's not that difficult to find the correct ones and match them. Okay, but let's take a step back now. Let's just review the navigation of this page. This is NetSuite's new account reconciliation tool. Okay, so we've got here the account, bank account. Okay, and because we imported it to this account, it's going to pull that up. Okay, the statement end date, it's going to pull up the last date of what we just downloaded, but we can modify that. Just another note, we can actually bring in more than one file. So let's say we've downloaded, we started with the 1st of June going to the 20th, if we say, you know what, we want to do a full month, we can then go back to the website and create a report from the 21st through the 30th and add that, do the same process, and then it'll add it to the same reconciliation. It won't try to open up a new one. As long as this one is still open, it'll just add those transactions into the same reconciliation. So you can keep adding statements. It's not like it's got to be a one statement. Just another note before we get started in showing you the actual reconciliation. You don't have to save this to hold your work. On the old reconciliation tool, you do. With this one, I can just close out of this and get back into it if I want. And the way to find it again is to go to Transactions, Bank, Import Online Banking Data, go to List. I'm going to do now. Okay, and you'll see this is the one we just imported. And way over here on the right, we've got this link to reconcile. So we can click on that, and it brings us back to this page. We've got to select it. Okay, Shopify, Amazon. And it brings back all of the transactions, and the ones that were matched will still be matched. Okay, so that's the top section here. Very important. The ending statement balance we've got to enter as well. And for each of the three gateways, it's slightly different. So for Amazon, where do we get this balance from? We go back here to the website, and we go to Statement View up there. Statement View. Okay, and you want to select a sort of statement for the last date of what we just generated. So we did through the 20th. So we're going to select the one that says June 20th through the 21st, even though it's through the 21st, but the closing balance that we need is the closing balance as of the 20th, and this is the one that will pull that one up. So it's always just to remember the end date of the transactions that we exported is going to be kind of the beginning date of the statement. Each statement is 1 day, okay, but we want to do the first date here. So it's going to be June 20th, okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look for closing balance. Okay, and that's this number here, 389.33. So we'll take that number and we're going to put it in here. Okay, this should be when we're finished reconciling, that should be what the number that shows up here. It should be a zero difference, and reconciled should be 389.33. Okay, when we're doing it now in this demo, this is not going to work because we started kind of in the middle of everything. So it's got all of these transactions that have accumulated that are in the account. In other words, there's no beginning balance. Normally, you would have reconciled up until that date, and there would be a beginning balance that would tie into that after we clear all the transactions, it'll result in the ending balance of 389.33. Okay, so it's going to be difficult to really show that until we really start working with it, clear out the beginnings, and work it. So, okay, but that's the ending statement balance. Okay, and another important point to note: make sure that we're taking this closing balance here, not the number down here, because sometimes it's different. And I want to show you something that relates specifically to Amazon. I think June 4th had this. Yeah, so sometimes it'll look like this. It'll have a total balance here. It'll have an unavailable balance, which really means like a reserve that Amazon is kind of withholding there. And then it'll have the total amount initiated, which will be the next day's transfer amount. We don't want to take this balance. We don't want to take this balance. What we're going to look for is this one. This is going to be the ending balance. So the transactions that are kind of accumulating through the 4th, in this case, would result in an ending balance of that number, 2684.63. It's just an important point to note. Okay, but we're looking at a different one, the 20th. Most of them, in most cases, they're not withholding any reserve balance. It's just the next day's transfer is the same as the ending balance of the previous day, so it's going to be this number here, 389.33. So that's our ending balance. Okay, let's go over to the Matched tab. So there's two tabs here, Matched and Unmatched. You can see where I'm clicking. Okay, so these are the ones that NetSuite found based on the import. Okay, and we can click on that little arrow to expand it. There's a deposit 131 on the second, and there's a payment of that amount right here, okay? And again, as of now, the reports are not pulling too much detail other than they have their own internal transaction number. We have our NetSuite transaction number. We have our customer name, which does not pull from the report, so the report doesn't show that. Those are all details we'd like to bring in. Okay, that's going to be the next project in this, but at least for now, it's finding a nice amount of the most of the deposit transactions. It's finding just based on the date and amounts. Okay, now let's go to the unmatched transactions. And what I did here was, let's do this again. I'm going to filter by type, sort by type. I mean, okay, by clicking on these column headers, you can sort. Okay, so we're going to look for each deposit. And what we can do is you can enter a search into here. So let's look for 8640. Type in 8640. Oops. Okay, it pulls up all of the, and this is the reason why NetSuite hasn't found it. There's two matching that amount. Okay, 8640. Interesting, it brings up things that are close to that amount as well. And we've got, so there's one on the 527. That's obviously not the one we're looking at. We're looking at the one on the first, and there's one on the first with that amount. So that's pretty clear that that's the one, right? Okay, then we'll go to the next one, 1995. Okay, and again, there's one on the 6th, one on the 16th. This one is the 6th. Okay, so forth. We can clear that field. And we can also kind of sort this by date and kind of look through the uncleared transactions, 86, 87, and you can go through it this way, which might be quicker, right? So I see there's 86, 87, 34, 51. The dates match up, the amounts match up to the penny. Okay, and as we go through here, you'll notice on the bottom, each time you tick on a transaction, it populates either the box on the left, these are the bank transactions, or on the right, these are your NetSuite transactions. Okay, and I might have neglected to mention that. Here is your statement transactions on top. This is what we just brought in from the bank, not the bank in this case, but this was our import. And then this is the NetSuite transaction. This was already entered on the GL. Okay, so as we go along and we tick transactions, they appear in the bottom section over here, and it tells us if it's matching. Right, I ticked a couple of extra ones. I ticked one extra one here. When I untick it, now it goes to 0. So we're matching these. Okay, if we want to send these to the match tab up here, we would click on that button there. Okay, and it only appears blue if this is 0. So it doesn't let you kind of somehow force a non-matching transaction through. Okay, so if I'm going to click on another one, now that goes gray. Okay.
And there, you can actually search amounts rather than scroll. You can search them.
Yeah, right? Sure. And you can put in. So let's put 78 in here, which is kind of a round amount. But there's two results, but we know that this is the one from the 18th, so it would be this one.
Got it.
Okay, so I'm going to click on match just for those. Okay, and now that clears out those, and then it sends them over here to the match transactions as well. Okay, let's go back. So now, when we've done clearing the deposits, now we want to enter the fees, bank fees that were deducted, as well as the transfers that were initiated. Okay, this is probably a larger date range than you'd normally be working with. We did about 3 weeks worth of transactions, and I would assume it's going to be once, twice a week, so it'll be somewhat less volume here. The way we've set it up is that it summarizes the fees per day. Okay, so every day, these are the total fees on that day. 6.3. Okay, and to enter the fees, you can click on. As we click on those, they're appearing down here. There's nothing to match them to yet in NetSuite because we haven't entered anything. This tool has a feature where you can create a journal entry based on an unmatched transaction. So right from here, you can click on a link, opens up a new tab, and it knows which bank account we're in. It knows that it's a credit because it's a fee, it's a negative amount, And then here you just have to tell it which expense account it's supposed to be. And that would be your bank service charges, bank fees, whichever one you'd normally use. In general, journal entries are kind of the lazy accountant's way of entering transactions. So normally you'd probably want to enter a transaction record. I'm just not sure your current business practice, how you're entering these types of fees. It might be with a journal entry. I think if we keep it to one a day so that it's one amount and we have good memos, it probably might satisfy the desire to keep things clear what they are, which is the big deficiency in using journal entries, is that it's hard to go back and figure out what it was. But I suppose if it's one a day and you're entering a clear indication here, so Amazon Pay, bank fees, and with the date, 06, whatever it was, that might satisfy that concern. Okay, so that's for the bank fees. And once those are entered, they'd show up. Then what you need to do is you have to click refresh. This button here is a little hard to see. That little character there. If you click on that, that will bring in any transactions you're entering as you're reconciling. So if I'm going to enter a journal entry now for the bank fee, it's not going to automatically show up here, but when I click refresh, it'll show up. And then I can select it and match it over to, whatever transaction it is. Okay, now let's go to the final part, which would be the booking the transfers. On these, you definitely don't want to book a journal entry for these. You want to really keep a good record of what it is. So for that, you'd want to open up a new tab, go to Transactions, Bank, Transfer Funds. Okay, so NetSuite has a specific transaction for moving funds from one bank account to another. You'd click on that. From account will be Shopify, wrong one, or Amazon, Shopify Amazon. To account would be your operating account. I'm not sure if it's this one, or maybe it's this one. I'm not sure which one it is, but whichever the operating account is would be in there, and it'll show you the amounts that were transferred. And this is coming directly from your Amazon statement. So this, I think you can rely on these numbers. It's not like there's room why it would be wrong. 23344. It's entered as a positive amount because that's the amount you're transferring. And then the memo would be something like, Amazon Pay. Payout 6, whatever the date was, right? 605. Okay. And then you click on Save. And then you could click that refresh and it'll come up and it'll be matched to the transfer transaction here. Okay. Again, if you're in the mid, you don't have to finish this all once you've opened it. So you can come back to it if you close out that tab. Let's just demonstrate that. So we only have 3 left to clear. All the rest are matched. If I close out that and I go back to it, go to Bank, Import, List, and you go to Reconcile. Select the one we're looking at. So again, only those 3 are left. The ones that were matched before are still there. Doesn't go away. Once you close it doesn't let you close it here. Hang on a second. Let's just look at that. This button does not become clickable until the difference is 0. So it's got to tie in. Okay, but once it does, when you click on close, what that does is it has the same effect as the old method of reconciling bank accounts in NetSuite. And to find a report that shows the bank reconciliation, it's the same way you've done previously probably. So reports, banking, budgeting, reconciliation, okay, or a detail would be there. Okay, while you're in the middle of it, it won't show up. It's only once it's been closed that it'll be available. And you want to be a little careful, just as always with bank reconciliations. You want to be careful when you click on close, because once you close it, it's kind of hard to go back and fix things. You can reopen a closed reconciliation account statement, but you cannot change the end date. So if if you realize, hey, wait a minute, we didn't capture all the transactions, we entered a date. So just for example, if I'm going to export a report through the 20th like I just did, and for whatever reason, if by mistake I entered the 21st here, and then I close the statement, I reconcile and I close, so then what will happen is it will not allow me to go back into it and change the end date, so that I'll be able to reconcile going forward the 21st, 21st and on. There's ways around it. We can work around it by manually modifying dates on the import, but you don't really want to do that. So just kind of be careful when you're clicking close statement to make sure that the date is right and that you have all the transactions that are part of that date range. Okay, so that's the overview for Amazon Pay. Okay, the other two gateways are very similar, but I'm going to highlight the differences of where they're different. So let's now go to, before we do that, is there any questions, anything you'd like me to clarify on this?
No.
Yeah, clear? Okay, excellent, great. Okay, let's go to PayPal. I'm going to log in. Okay, and I guess Selena or Vlad, I guess you'll have to coordinate with Shay to make sure you have access to the different gateways. Okay, so once we log into PayPal, you click on Reports right here at the top. Okay, and then you click on Activity Download. That's the navigation. Okay. Activity download, and for some reason the reports coming out of PayPal are a little slower to generate than they are out of Amazon Pay. Don't know why that is, but that's just the way it is. Okay, real important, transaction type, it's got to be all transactions. Okay, either of the other two won't get the right numbers in there. It won't be the right, it'll eliminate transactions, it'll have duplicate transactions, different ways that they report things, but you want to make sure you select all transactions. Okay, the date range would be as you wish, whatever we're looking to reconcile. Okay, and you can also do since last download, which is a great tool to kind of keep things, make sure that you're not overlapping. Okay, and then CSV, and then create report. Okay, there's two here that say submitted. This one I generated right before the call. Let's do refresh. Still submitted. Not sure why it hasn't generated yet, but so let's, I guess, work with the previous one that I've done. I want to get kind of a nice size date range. So let's work with this one, I guess, June 12th, 28. Okay, so you'll click on download. Okay, similar process, download. And then we'll go in here, transactions, bank, Prolecto file conversion tool. Okay, click in this area here, and we'll select our download. Something doesn't look right there. Give me a second. No. I know why. I know why that is. It changed something in the reports, and that old one is not the same format. It changed something, so we'll have to wait for a new one. Or meanwhile, let's try with this one. I would have liked to do a broader range of dates. Maybe by the time we're done, it'll have generated. So maybe we'll come back to this. Okay, so let's look at this. Download 23, and I'm going to upload that. Okay, there we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. So for the PayPal reports, it actually puts the ending balance right there in the file name. which is a neat little benefit. So that, like in Amazon, we got to go here to find the ending balance. With PayPal, it puts it right in the file name. The reason why we're able to do that is because the file actually, the original download has a column for the running balance. So we can just pull the final balance out of that column and pop it into the file name. It's okay if you don't remember it, because there is a way to get it out of here as well, but it's just kind of a little more convenient that way. Okay, so whoops, sorry about that. And I'm going to click on download. Okay, so we download that file. Okay, and again, you see it's not that many transactions here. I'm going to do the same thing with the date just to make sure. So number formats, custom, we're going to change the date format to okay, and then I'll save that. Ending balance is 268.29. Let's go to bank, import online banking data, and we're going to choose that one. And we're going to put it into PayPal. That's the one, and then submit. Okay, 10 have been successfully imported, only 4 have been matched. Let's take a look at that. So this was not a very successful one. If we look at what was matched, only 4 out of 8 deposits were matched, 4 weren't matched. Let's see what's going on there. So 55.47. Let's try to match that. Okay, there is only 1. This one there's 2. One on the 11th, one on the 12th. This one was on the 12th, so we're going to assume that's the one.
Mayor, before you go any further, the 5547, there was only 1 record returned. Why
Right.
didn't it?
You know, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't know to match that. Right, the same date, same amount. I don't know what would have thrown it off. Normally, it happens when there's more than one amount, more than one matching amount. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess maybe because this is pulling a transaction number, and it's a different transaction number, maybe. But then that wouldn't explain it, because there's 4 that did match, which also have. This is the PayPal transaction number. This is our transaction number, and it had no problem matching it, right? And all of a sudden, this one didn't. I don't know. That's a very good point.
Yeah. Just curious.
Yeah.
Something to go back to and explore with EJ.
Yeah. Okay, so that's matched. Let's look through that. Okay, so we matched all of them, and then you'd click on match, sends them to the matched column, and then we've got the fee and the transfer to book. Right? Oh, and the ending balance we would need to put in as well. So the ending balance was, let's go back to that file. Right, so it's 268.29. But let me show you where you can get that in PayPal as well. So under PayPal, you can go to up here to statements. Statements, and create custom. And if we do, we're just looking at the 12th, so we can just do click OK, create report. Okay, and then refresh. There we go. If you download the PDF, it'll give you the ending balance 268.29, right? And was that the same as our download? Was, right? So that's how you get that as well. It's just good to verify. It's good to have another record to kind of back it up. You know. Okay, that would be the ending balance. Okay, and again, that's not going to match here yet because we've got older transactions that are sitting there, so we have no beginning balance there. But if there would be a beginning balance, it should tie in as we go through it. Okay, that's PayPal. Let's see if any of these generated yet. Activity download. There you go. Yeah, this one is there. Not sure why this one got stuck, but okay. Download. So let's try that again. Oh, and this is going to be a good exercise too. So I'll show you how. Let's say you've downloaded a statement and you realize, you did something wrong, or the date range is wrong, or you want to just redo everything. So the way to delete an imported statement would be to go through Transactions, Bank, import online banking data, and then List. And then you can edit what you've downloaded. So we're going to take the most recent one, which is this one, and then Actions Delete. I'm going to delete that one. And then we're going to go and we're going to import the new one. So Bank, Payout File Conversion Tool. We're going to select the most recent download. Okay, and it gives us the balance and the file name. We can download that. I'm going to format the date to make sure it'll work. And then Transactions Bank. Import. Choose File. Formatted. Select the right one. We're looking at PayPal. Submit. Okay. 100 matched out of 245, but we don't know how many of those 245 are fees and transfers, right? So let's sort by type. Okay, this one's got significantly more deposits that would have to be matched manually. All right, so it's what was the date range here? Oh, we did a full month. Okay, June 12th to July 11th. I thought I had done June 11th to June 12th, but okay, good. So that's why there are so many. But again, we want it to get more accurate. We know that. So the good thing about the PayPal reports is that it pulls in the customer name, so it does make it a little easier to match. Okay, I guess in NetSuite it's pulling perhaps the customer name, and here it's pulling the cardholder name probably.
But the last name matches, which is a good thing.
Oh, is it?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to go through more of this in this particular reconciliation, or can we move on to show you the Shopify version?
Selena?
We can move on.
Yeah. Okay. From here on, it's the same process as the other one. Okay. So Shopify is different than the other two, and I'll show you exactly how. So if we log into Shopify, okay, and here's how to get the reports out of Shopify. So you go all the way down here on the left, there's something called Settings. I'll click on that. And click on Payment Providers. And then in the top section, Shopify payments, we're going to click on View Payouts. Right there. Okay, now under View Payouts, we've got to do two things. Shopify, for some reason, does not have one report that shows both the payouts, which means the transfers to the bank, and the individual deposits coming in from customers. It's on two different reports, but you can combine those reports, pop each one of them into the account reconciliation, and it'll be on one reconciliation. The advantage of the Shopify Pay system is that the individual transactions are tied directly into the payout amounts. So we saw on Amazon that sometimes there's an ending balance that doesn't, they have a reserve balance. And I noticed a similar thing with PayPal, so it doesn't always quite match up. And that's why we have to find the ending balance to enter here. But with Shopify, it does tie out exactly. So, but what we need to do is when we create the individual transaction file, we have to make sure that our date range is matching the date range that we're using for the payouts. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. So first thing is we want to get the payout file. So we'll go over here to export, and we're going to choose items by date. Okay, and these dates, these are payout dates because we're looking now at payout transactions. So these are dates that were sent from Shopify to the bank. Okay, so we'd select the date range. Okay, and then you select export as CSV for Excel, and then you click on export items, and it comes to my email. Okay, so if you have a login, it'll go to your email. And then we want to get, okay, now we have to get the individual transactions. So for that, we go here where it says transactions. Okay, and now we have to put in some filters because we want to filter and make sure that we're matching the transactions that relate to those payouts rather than just the transaction date. So here in filter, you go to select the filter, payout date is after the start date that we did in the previous export, so the start date that we're looking for. Okay, so say 6/01. Oops, sorry about that. Date at 6/01, and then add filter. Okay, and then you have to add another one for the before. It is a little annoying that you can't just do a range, but that's just how the system works. So is after, what did I do? After 6/01. Sorry about that. And then we want to do before. Payout date is before the end date. And then add filter. Okay, and then once we've done that, you go to export up there. You can see where I'm highlighting in blue, export. And then you do the bottom one, 50 plus payment transactions matching search. And then export. Okay, so that's the first kind of challenge with Shopify as opposed to the others. It's just several more steps to get the reports that we need, whereas the other two was relatively easy. Okay, so it's two reports, and I'll show you that again, just because it's a little hard to remember. So first we go to, when we first log in, we go down here to settings, down all the way on the left, payment providers, and then view payouts. And on the first screen that shows up, we're going to do export, items by date, and here you can enter a date range, 1st through the 21st, let's say, and export. And then you go all the way on the right to transactions in blue, that button there, and then you add filters. Payout date is after our start date, and they add that, and then select the filter. Payout date is before the end date. Okay, the exact dates got a little tricky when I was testing this, so I put in the guide exactly how that works. And I'm just going to refresh my own memory here. So there's two exports. First is the payout transaction. The start date will not be included, so be sure to choose 1 day prior to the desired range for our start date. And the payouts, transactions on the date selected, will be included. Okay, so that's just how those two reports work. The first one, you've got the start date should be 1 day prior to the date you want. And on the individual transactions, the two dates, the start and end, or the payout date after and payout date before. So this report will include the first, and it'll also include the 20th. And then you go to export, and then the bottom one, 50 plus payment transactions, and then export. Okay, and then I'll get the email. So I'm going to check that. And it's all over on my other screen. So there's the first export. And then this one, the payout, sorry. And then the first one, this is the, hang on a second. Payment transactions export. So the file names are different. The payouts are called payouts_export, and the individual transactions, so like the deposits from customers and the fees are coming in. This one, payment transactions export. So click on that, downloads those two files. Okay, so now they're in my downloads folder. And I'm going to go to NetSuite Bank Productive File Conversion Tool. Click on that. It's going to open my, I'm going to add one, and then I'm going to add the other one. Okay, we're going to download now. We have something with the formatting, like I mentioned. So this, I don't think this is fixed yet. Well, this one looks okay. Let's look at the other one. This is still not fixed. So the date, see how the date's coming out? It's not supposed to come out like that. And that's because, again, something changed where the date format and the source files are showing up slightly differently. So he's working on that. But well, I'm going to use previously downloaded files. Okay, so I'm going to use that one, and then I'm going to use that one. Okay, we're going to download those two. That's wrong one. And then click OK. Save. Okay, now when we go back here, we go to Transactions Bank, import online banking data. And first we're going to do this one. And this is going to the Shopify payments. Okay, did not work. Not sure why that didn't work. I see why. This was an old file. Instead of being other, it's supposed to be miscellaneous. The wording is wrong, something like that. So, okay, I got it. But this is the old version, so that's been fixed on the new one, except that the date format we have that issue with. So, I wish I could actually walk through this again. But the process is the same. So, in other words, when we get those downloads, the way we demonstrated, and we convert them and upload them, it'll be the same system as the other two gateways. Okay, so that's basically the process. I just want to point out another thing, and that is the first time we're going to use this. So we have to go back and we have to determine the cutoff date amount. So in other words, we have to make sure there's no overlap between what was in the undeposited funds account versus what's now in the clearing account, and make sure that we're not looking at a payout that has kind of detailed transactions that are part in one, part in the other, right? So if I just take a look, let's just to demonstrate what I mean. If let's say we're going to start on, I think for Shopify that we started using that account on the 20th. This payout that was on the 20th at 2368. We just got to make sure that all of the individual transactions that are part of that are in the clearing account and that there's none of them in the undeposited funds account. Okay, or we might say, well, if most of them are in the undeposited funds account, then we just want to make sure that we can maybe move some of the ones that are in the clearing account over to undeposited funds, do this one the old way, and then start clean with this one. Whichever it might be, we just have to determine which transactions are on what and just make sure we have a clean cutoff. So I think what that is going to involve is more of a manual process. We probably should do a smaller date range for that. And when we look at those transactions, we would want to export just, and we can look at the actual download. So let me go back here. If we click on any one of these, let's click on that one, June 20th. Click on that date. It'll give us some detail. We may have to do some, going down to make sure that we're looking at the right payments, especially if there's, so it says here the customer name. There might be some manual just verifying and looking at it and making sure that the ones that are still in the old system have been cleared out and moved over to the operating account, and the ones using the new system with the clearing account are all, that they're all there, that there's none that are still sitting in the undeposited funds. So that's just that one challenge there just initially. So I do anticipate that the first one we do is going to be a little more challenging than going forward. Okay. Selena, Vlad, what are your thoughts so far? Do you have any questions on this or comments?
No.
Selena?
No. No question.
Pretty clean. So so I'm assuming that this has already been done in production, tested in production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically, the guide that you sent, we can start matching things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Well, the ones that I imported, I didn't do from the beginning. What the first one has to be done from the first, when it was first. That beginning date has to be correct. So in other words, I want to go in and delete the ones I've done, because these date ranges, this is going from mid-June to whatever date range I selected to test it with. But really, the first one has to be from the initial date that those transactions are there in the clearing account. It doesn't have to go all the way till today. It doesn't have to go. It could just be even 1 day, 2 days if you want, however narrow a piece you want to look at, but it's got to be in sequence, because a reconciliation, it gets funny when you start doing one in the middle, and then besides the fact the beginning balance will be wrong, you won't be able to reconcile. You got to start from when it was truly zero and bring it all the way through to where it is now. So I'm actually going to delete these because it's not right. The transaction date, the 13th to the whatever it was, but okay.
That's fine. So what I think the next step should be is for Selena, Vicky, and you to set up, a working sessions like an hour, maybe, initially, and then see where it needs to go. Where they're in the driving seat and they're sharing a screen with you and you're giving them, support,
Sure.
And
Yep.
go through the process.
That makes sense.
Does that sound good to you? Selena?
Yes?
Yep. So does that sound good? We'll set up a session starting tomorrow where you guys can drive the process and Mayor is going to be, viewing it and answering questions.
How about let's start doing the reconcile by ourselves first. And if we have any questions, we can comment.
Sure, whichever way is easier.
Sure.
I just figured with it might be easier to just kind of shadow it at the very first time you're doing it, and then see if it's needed, again. But we can talk about it. Whichever one is easier, whichever one supports you best.
I can start tomorrow and then try to do it.
Okay, sure. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Maybe look over the guide and see if you can see how good or how bad the guide is. See if it's just this is crazy, this is not written very well, or whatever it is. Then maybe it does make sense to kind of me shadow. But if you think it's clear and if you're comfortable with it, then yeah, 100%. Whatever works for you, like that.
Whichever works best. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you both for joining. I'll give you an update as soon as I have one on the Shopify one, and I'll do some more rigorous testing on that to make sure that we're okay with that as well. Okay.
And the tool is good to use next for Amazon.
Yeah. Yep. Those are good to go. PayPal, Amazon.
We'll start with the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Les. Thanks, Selena.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Have a great day.
You.
Yeah, bye. Bye-bye.